She is Joey Morley with Meadows Property Group. Joey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back. It's great to be here today.
Connecting with the community and so much more.
Yes. I mean, that's what we do in real estate. Connections.
That's a good word right there. That's my word for the year as of right now. Connections. So in the meantime, Joey, let's tell people your company is called Meadows Property Group. Let's tell people about your company.
Yes. So Meadows Property Group is a brokerage, kind of a boutique brokerage focusing on the Memorial area of town, although we do business all over, wherever the business takes us and our clients. But our focus is really Memorial.
In fact, I'm going to guess that's kind of the community you're connecting to in a way. Before we get to that, though, also you brought your daughter here today. You're the only person in the studio that has an assistant. That's pretty awesome right there.
I do have my assistant, my trusty assistant today.
Let's tell people about her. She's waving at us, and
Julia.
she's right here.
Yeah, Julia is my daughter. She is a freshman this year at Stratford High School. And Stratford is one of the main areas that I focus my support in the community. I donate routinely for support of the orchestra. I have my two sons are both in the orchestra. And then I also support the theater. I also sponsor the Wilchester Elementary School Carnival and Auction, which is their biggest fundraiser of the year for the elementary school. So I just really trying to find ways that I can give added support to the community through my business.
And actually, I mean, when we hear about great schools in the Houston area, and even as the city is expanding, that's one of the great schools in our system.
It is. And schools, as we all know as realtors, are often a big driving force in selling a home. So when you have homes zoned to good schools, it's a lot easier to sell that home and resell it, even whether or not you have kids in that school or not.
And not only that, it is legendary that many people that are school teachers, male and female alike, end up being realtors, and that's a whole nother show in itself.
Yes.
As your company, how your company approaches and how you approach the market in terms of, is it by geography, as you're in the Memorial area, or let's give us an idea how that works for you.
Yes. So I do focus on the Memorial area, like I said, and I have something that I do that I try to connect with people on a weekly basis. It's my email campaign that I do. It's a little newsletter I put out every single week. It's called the Friday Five. And in that newsletter...
What day does it come out on?
It comes out every Friday. Yeah. And
Right.
It's on my social media, but I also direct email it to people who subscribe. And what I do in that is I try to kind of intersperse both real estate information, market updates, and things like that are sometimes hyper local and focused on the Memorial area. But then I also put in some fun stuff like, New Year's, we did an email about all the foods that you're supposed to make on New Year's Day that were going to bring you good luck and fortune in the new year. So just a little mix of everything into that newsletter, and people seem to enjoy it. So
I enjoy it because I get it on Friday. And the interesting thing, as you know, that's when I send out my YouTube video every Friday. So when I I send mine out about 5 a.m.
Yes.
So when I check for mine, then I see yours. So those are two great things. By the way, if you're out there listening and you want to check those things out, people could, how would they get your newsletter?
Yes. So there's a few ways to get it. Like I said, they can go on, follow me on any of my social media platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. But a real easy way to do it is to go to my website, which is www.joimorley, which is joeymorley.com. And there's a little button right at the top that says get my newsletter.
And once again, Joey, it's uniquely spelled as J-O-I.
Yes.
And that makes actually more sense than the other way. I'm just saying my opinion. So as far as the market, let's touch upon the market. How is the market? It's just raging, isn't it?
Last year was my busiest year yet in real estate. And I think I've spoken to a lot of my coworkers and it's been similar for them. As you know, my sister's a lender. She also had an extremely busy year. So last year was really, we thought 2020 was blowing it out of the water. Then 2021 took it to the next level. I think what they're predicting for this year is we're going to have still a shortage. We still have a shortage in inventory, so there's still going to be a lot of demand. But mortgage rates are starting to tick up a little bit, so it's going to kind of cool it off slightly. But it's still busy. It's already busy for me this year.
We might as well say hello to your sister, Elizabeth,
yes.
Right?
Hi, Elizabeth. Yes. My sister's a lender with First United Bank, and we work together quite often on a lot of deals. So it's a lot of fun.
Elizabeth, let's talk about that community. First of all, your newsletter, when did you first start that, and what was your inspiration?
It's probably been about 3 or 4 years since I've been doing the Friday Five.
Works pretty good, doesn't it?
It does. And, I have one of those mine, I chose MailChimp, so I do it on MailChimp every week. A lot of my coworkers do one with me, but ours is each different in a little way. And it just allows us to connect every week. Like we said, we started the show talking about connections. This is a way for us to stay connected with our audience every week. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It also allows me to promote some of my listings that I have, open houses that I have. So I do try to include that and just reach a broad audience with the products that I'm selling, my houses and things.
And as we're talking about connecting to the community, yours, it sounds like what you're doing, Joey, is through the school as a parent with several children.
Yes.
And the music connection. I guess it helps as you're out there at these events and the musical things. People say, oh, well, I guess people say it all the time in any crowd. What do you do? Right?
Yes.
And you get to say, well, I'm a real estate professional.
Right. And actually, I was just at a meeting last week, and one of my neighbors turned around and said, oh, by the way, I love your Friday Five.
That's even, now you know they're listening.
Exactly. And so that's the whole thing. And I absolutely love that. Also, my brokerage loves to support the community. My brokerage is owned by Erin Meadows. So she's a women-owned business. I'm a woman-owned business. I'm Joey Morley, Inc. I tell people I run my own business. I pay for my own marketing. I do all of that. And then I love to support women-owned businesses. So when possible, I use female photographers. I have a great female photographer that I use. I have some female stagers that I use. I also have a female lender that I love to use. So when I can do that, I also try to support female-owned businesses. I mean, I support a lot of local businesses, but that's my focus as well. So,
and certainly, like any real estate professional, you have to have so many tools in your tool belt to serve buyers and sellers all over Houston.
A lot of referrals, yes.
That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing it sounds like in your connection with the community, you find out kind of the trends and what's going on, and especially as it relates to school, you're finding out what's going on at different age levels. I mean, how old is your daughter that's sitting right here, Julia?
She is 15, but we've been in those schools since we moved to the area when she was 6. So we've gone through all the schools now.
So you have a good idea of what's going on in the world of a 15-year-old, a 10-year-old, and from your own children and also from talking to parents. I think that's excellent information to be able to be of service to buyers and sellers. Just saying. It
is very, very useful. I'll tell you, when I, talk to my buyers about the schools, I have firsthand knowledge of how they work, how great the, parent-teacher organizations are there, how much support they get, how the PTO pays for, the dyslexia teacher and the this and the that and gets all the things in place to support the kids in the school. So I love being able to share that with the parents and the buyers that I have coming into the area.
I would think there's a lot of events that you're at, too, with your children and other meetings that are called upon at the school. How often, and here we are, I'm doing the radio show, talking to people all the time, and for the last, I forget, year and a half or so, market has just been crazy. Mm-hmm. But there are people out there that aren't tuned in at all. So my question is, as you are out there in the school, with the general population, we'll call it, how often does someone say, well, Joey, what's the market like? And then you report to them. But how many people do you run to that don't realize that it's blazing as it is in this crazy way?
Well, I think the availability of information is so vast right now that it's kind of hard to not. It's news stories all the time I see about the crazy market, the bidding wars. So most people are aware that it's happening in general, but what they want to know when they ask me is what's happening in my neighborhood, in my, micro area, because that may be happening in the Heights or whatever, but is that also happening in Memorial? And is it happening now over Christmas? And I tell them, yes. I mean, we're still seeing bidding wars in January, and typically this is the slow time in the market. And it really just comes down to demand, and there's not enough supply of houses. So I tell people who are still thinking of selling, and you've stayed on the fence last year, it is time to get off that fence and sell. And I also have some ways that I help my sellers who are afraid to get off the fence because they don't know where they're going to go. I help them find a house and put their house on the market and not be homeless in between. So we do things called leasebacks and things like that so we can bridge that gap for them so they can sell their house and maybe they're downsizing, upsizing, or whatever they're doing, but they don't have to be homeless for that time period where they haven't found a house.
Yeah, you better know
but
where
that
you're
scares
going.
people.
Well, yeah,
yes,
it would.
Yes, yeah.
I wouldn't feel comfortable selling my house unless I knew I'm going to this place,
right.
wherever it is.
And if you need the money out of the house you're in order to buy the house you're going to, it complicates things. So we have things in place that we can help with that.
And this is why people should use a real estate professional
Absolutely.
right now, more than ever, from a negotiating standpoint, from a being able to jump these extra hurdles that are now in front of us. Yeah, it's great. We can sell our house pretty quick by and large. Still, it does bring other challenges on board. So the real estate professional is very important in these times. As we have about a minute or so left in this segment, Joey Morley, what else do you want people to know?
Well, that working with someone in the Memorial area when you're looking in the Memorial area is very, very helpful because, like you said, the school knowledge, the area knowledge, you get all of that with them that really helps them get that house. And I will say in this market, both buying and selling, working with a realtor helps you to get through those bidding wars and those things that you're going to come up against where you need to know the tips and techniques to win that bidding war, because it's not always the cash buyer that gets the deal. You can tweak an offer and do those things. And that's what I like to do for my clients. I like to help them. I call them chicken exits throughout the contract. So I write these contracts to really benefit them. And that's something that working with a realtor can help them do.
On the selling end, how many out of the last 10 sellers have you helped? How many of them are leaving Texas, if any?
None of mine left Texas. Everybody's coming to Texas.
Well, I know. That's why I asked the question.
Yes.
So then then the flip side, out of the last 10 buyers, how many are coming from outside of Texas?
One. I just have one right now that's coming from outside of Texas. And this is a neurosurgeon who's coming from Virginia, who's coming to Texas to work in our medical center, because we have a fantastic medical center here. So
indeed we do. Joey Morley with Meadows Property Group. Let's tell people how they can reach out to you.
They can go to my website at www.joimorley.com, or they can email me at joi@joeymorley.com. 832-766-5647. They can text or call me at 832-766-5647.
Either of those places they could find the newsletter and get that, because I enjoy mine every Friday. It's part of my routine. Joey Morley with Meadows Property Group. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.